Hello, hello everybody! My name's Brittany and welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer, or welcome if you are new. I'm very pleased, very happy that you are here today with us. Today what we're going to be working on my Pastel Kidcore island of Patagonia is we're going to work on the schoolyard for our island. So let me take you and show you the schoolyard. So as we make our way over to where my house is located, which is on the other side of the plaza here, I have my little classroom that's outside of my house. Now, I have been considering going back in and redoing this because I want the interior of my house to be a school, and I think that the exterior I might just want to be like the front yard of a school building. And so I might go back and actually edit this out and change it up and make it into a schoolyard. But if I do that, that'll be a build for a later day. My plan for this video for today is to work on this area that is behind my house. So I have this big area here that is behind the school, if you will, of Patagonia. And so what I would like to turn this into is just a big schoolyard for the kids. So I'm thinking that we make this illusion, of course, that you would come out the back door here. And then over here on the left-hand side of this little sidewalk path that I'm going to build up, I'd like to have another little playground, a little playground for our school kids to go to on a regular school day. And then over on the right-hand side, I'd like to do like a basketball court or something of that nature. Just because whenever I was a kid, I remember that playing basketball was a big thing that everyone would want to do. And so I'd like to include that on Patagonia. And then as we work our way up past the playground and past our little basketball court area, I'd like to just use whatever space might be left over and turn it into like a parking lot for the school employees and the teachers and different things, just to have some space, some filler area. And plus I want to use those little pink and blue cars that we got in the 2.0 update. I've never gotten to use them, and so I want to include those somewhere on my island. And I think this would be a perfect area with a little bitty parking lot there for our teachers and for our school employees. And so that's what I'm going to work on today. Once I finish up that area, once we get that done, that should take care of this bottom right hand side of our map where our resident services and different things are at, minus like a few filler areas. And I might do a let's play video for that and just fill in those little filler areas down here on the bottom right hand side, and then we'll have that completely finished. And after we finish this little bottom right hand side, I'd like to go into working on this little area that I have my tailors and my shop placed, because I thought it would look like a cute little area there for our shops to be nestled into around that little pond. Because again, I'm trying my best to do no terraforming, or I guess now, since I did terraform a little bit, as little terraforming as possible. Look, there's Cookie. We took Cookie on the last villager hunt, and if you haven't seen that, you should check that out. That was a wild ride. It was very fun. So now I have 3 villagers that will be staying on Patagonia. So today's build is the schoolyard, so let's get started. Alright, so now I'm just going to gather some materials, some different items that I'm going to need for my build today. So we're going through our storage, we're grabbing things that look like they might be used in a playground or in a basketball court and things of that nature. Now I'm going to make my way up to the area where we're actually going to do our build. There's several trees and different things that are in the way right now, so I need to go in really quickly and move those. I'm not going to, of course, waste your time and show you that entire process, because you know what it looks like whenever someone removes trees in Animal Crossing, I'm sure. So I'm going to quickly just zoom past all of the tree moving. And then I'm also going to go ahead and move Cousteau's house because it's also in the way. So I'm going to quickly go in and ask to move Cousteau. And right now I'm not really sure where that house will go or who the villager will be that permanently lives in that residence. So just out of the sake of convenience, I'm just going to move it onto the beach. So here I am just moving that little plot onto the beach. So plopped Cousteau right down, and then from there I'm just going to time travel to the next day and that way we can go ahead and get started with what we need to do. So now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to get a couple of items customized, of course, because we're going to have a lot of different items that I'm going to be using, and I want to make sure that those fit my theme. So the pinks and the blues and the yellows are, of course, the color palette that I'm going for, just like normal. So really quickly, just to show you that process, I of course gather up a big load and take it over to retail and get it recolored just so that it matches my theme. And I hate going to retail because it just takes so long. I wish that we could, of course, customize multiple things at one time. And now I'm back on Patagonia, and so I'm going to start the process of my actual build. So the first thing I wanted was like a pathway that led out of the pretend back door of my school. So here's our little straight pathway. I made it 3 tiles long so that it's easy to maneuver through and use. So the ideal here, of course, like I mentioned before, is that I'm going to have the playground over on the left-hand side, and then my basketball court over on the right-hand side, and then up at the very top will be the parking lot for the teachers and the school staff and different things of that nature. And so now that I've got kind of a basis to see where my sidewalk is at, now I'm going to go in and I'm going to place down my playground path. Now I'm not going to waste your time with all of that as well. Here's what it looks like, plopping down a tree as well. And then now we're going to go into, of course, the actual building process. I started by placing down some fences. I knew whenever I started this theme that I was going to use this blue and pink park fence because it was perfect for the color scheme that I was going for, and this was the first area that I really got to use it, and I'm really happy with the way that it looks. It's such a pretty combination of colors, and I'm just overjoyed that it matches perfectly with my theme. So I'm fencing in the entirety of the playground just because when the school kids go out and play, they need some safety. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to place some custom designs. I've got these little 4 square tiles. I've got them in pink, yellow, and blue, which is perfect. And so now I'm just going to intermix those just to add a little bit of color to the ground because, of course, that dirt just looks kind of plain and kind of bland and can look boring. So custom designs is the way it is. And so now I'm going to go down with some items. We, of course, got to put the little jungle gym. And then I'm going to place down, of course, you got to have the elephant slide whenever you're building a playground. So there she is. And I wanted to also add some items that might not necessarily be the basis of what people think about when they think about a playground. But I know that at school and different things, they always have some different toys and things that are out ready for the kids to play with. So that's what I'm placing down. I don't know if you all had this same experience that I had whenever I was in school, but the playground was a place where strange things would happen. I remember the kids just being really weird and some very weird, odd things happening on the playground. That's where you really got to see everyone's true colors shine. And so I remember whenever I was in school, we, of course, would go on the swings, and we would swing to see how high we could go, and then we would sing, "I believe I can fly." And so I remember that very vividly. And now I'm just going in, of course, I'm playing some bubblegum KK for some ambiance on the playground, and then, of course, finishing up with some more custom designs and different things of that nature. I love that little chalk cat. I just think that she's really cute, and so I like to use her anywhere that I can throw her down. Alright, so now I'm going to go in and put another tree at the other end of the playground. I like the way that it's turning out. I want to, of course, throw down a snack because we all know that a kid's going to drop their snack down. So I put down some flaming hot Cheetos because I know that whenever I was in school, that was the big thing. That was everyone's favorite snack was hot Cheetos. Now there was one more item that I wanted to really throw in, and that was the Cosmos shower, just because I really, really like the Cosmos shower. And so I placed that down and then put, of course, a little puddle design and some rain boots underneath it, just to add a little touch of cute. Alright, so that wraps up our playground, and now we're going to move on over to the basketball court. And again, the very first thing that I do is I start by placing that little rectangular path. I'm not going to waste your time with that entire process, but here's what it looks like whenever I begin. And then, of course, here's what it looks like whenever she's finished. And now I'm going in with some actual basketball items like the goal and the ball. I remember whenever I was a kid, basketball was like a really big thing that everyone wanted to play. The kids would get really competitive on the basketball court too. And if you weren't good at basketball, you didn't play because they would leave you in the dust. I kept clicking the wrong plastic bench, and so I kept placing that pink one in the wrong way, and I knew I wanted to use the blue one to add a little bit of pop of blue. And then of course I've got to add my bubblegum KK. I always got to have it playing everywhere on my island. Now, I did like playing basketball whenever I was in school, but the big thing that I remember playing was tetherball. We would have these big, long tetherball competitions, and I remember just trying my hardest to beat everyone. I wanted to be the very best there was at tetherball. And then another thing we always played was Foursquare. I loved Foursquare. I would play it with my friends all the time on the playground whenever I was in like 5th and 6th grade. We had this game where we would create a story, and whenever we created that story, each time that you were hit the ball, you had to add a word to the story, so you added one word at a time. And so we would make these big, long, dramatic stories that would go on forever, and that's one of my favorite memories on the playground. And so now that I've finished up the basketball area, I'm going to start working on the actual parking lot for the school staff, because there's usually always a parking lot towards the back, and I had this little awkward, long, rectangular area I knew was going to wind up being right here, and I wanted to be able to also use those little cars that they added in the 2.0 update, because I think that they're so cool and so cute. And so I, of course, wanted my little parking lot, and I thought this was the perfect area to be able to use those little vehicles. So I'm adding in the little rectangular parking lot, and I, again, won't bore you with that entire process, but here's what it looks like whenever we get started. And then here's what it looks like once I have it all placed down. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add the actual lines for the parking lot. It winds up looking kind of odd because there's a space between the top of the parking lot and the actual parking lot marker. And so I went back in and added a cherry blossom pile of leaves on top of it. And I think that it really hid that little awkward patch, and I like the way that it turned out. I just love these little cars too. I think they're so cute, and I love that they came in the exact colors of my theme, so they fit in perfectly. I know whenever I went and customized this car, that blue car, it called it green. I know that it's like a minty color, but I would say that it leans more towards the blue. What do you all think? And so I'm using that car to space out my parking lot spaces perfectly, because I didn't want a car in every single parking space. I wanted a space that didn't have a car. say that I feel like this is one of my favorite builds that I did, and the reason why I say it's one of the favorite builds that I've done so far is because I had this vision in my head and it just turned out perfectly, exactly the way that I had envisioned it. And usually I'm the type of person that whenever I think of a build ideal or something that I want to recreate on my island, I have this idea in my head and it never turns out right. But I had the idea of the little park over on the left hand side and then the basketball court on the right and the parking lot in the back. And it just turned out, I think it looks really cute and it really fits in well with my theme. And so now I'm going to, of course, add down patches of some dirt so that I can go back. I'm going to add in some flowers because I need my flowers to add some color. And so now I'm going back in and filling in some spaces with some flowers and different things. I wanted to fence in that basketball court, and the best way that I could find to do it was to add a hedge, and I actually think that I like the way that it turned out. I know I have that little awkward space over to the side of the basketball court that's not yet filled in, but I think I'll go back in my next video, my next little let's play, when I fill in this little lower right hand side of my map, and I think I'll fill that in with probably some flowers and custom designs and different things, nothing too extravagant, just some space filler. And then I also wanted to include some lattice fencing because once I of course remembered that fencing existed, the blue variation of this lattice fence, I just really like it and I think it looks really sweet and really cute throughout this island. I think it adds to that very spring feel that I'm going for. And so now I'm just adding that fencing, and then of course these little patches of land here are going to be inaccessible, so I want to go ahead and fill those in with some flowers and bushes and weeds and different things so that I don't have to try to get back to these areas at a later time. So I'm just filling in those areas with some flowers and weeds and different things like that. And I really like using flowers, and it feels like in some of my builds in this island, like the museum build, different things, I didn't really get to use flowers, but I feel like flowers just fill in a space nicely, and so I always like to try to include them when I can. And those yellow hyacinths, I know I mentioned this in my very first video, but they're some of my favorite flowers in the whole game. And I was a hyacinth hater at the very beginning of the game. I was all cosmos. I wanted cosmos everywhere. But I really like the pink tulip, and I really, really like the yellow hyacinth. Those are my two favorite flowers in the game right now. I know that everyone was on this big green mums kick for a while, and so was I. But I think that I may or may not have burnt myself out on the green mums because I don't like to use them very much anymore. So, of course, I had the forest core island right before this, and so my island was nothing but green mums and white mums. And I do like the mum, but I think I've just seen enough of it. And so there's our build for today. guys, and that'll do it for today's video. I sure hope that you enjoyed my speed build of the schoolyard. I really liked the way that it turned out. I really enjoyed building it. I loved incorporating some items that I had never gotten a chance to use before in a build, and I think that it just turned out great. If you liked it, please let me know in the comments. If there's something that you would have done differently, let me know that as well. And I hope that you have a fantastic day.